Hanukkah is upon us soon, and since Yud Kislev is coming, maybe let's learn a little bit of what the Baal HaTanya has to say about Hanukkah and synthesize the two together. One of the episodes that occurred in Hanukkah was that the Greeks, the Yevonim, said they wanted the Jews to write Kitvu lachem al keren ashor, to write on the horn of an ox, she'ein lachem chelek be'elokei Yisrael, you have no portion in the God of Israel. So the Yevonim were living in a time when there was a Beis HaMikdash, and the Yevonim insisted, the Greeks, that the Jews let go of the connection to Hashem. They didn't want Jews to believe in God. But the way they worded it was, they said, we want you, the Medrash says, to write on the horn of an ox, to inscribe and enshrine on the horn of an ox that you have no portion in the God of Israel. And the question really is, what's about the horn of the ox? Now, of course, the Jews responded in kind. Instead of agreeing and consenting, as many Jews actually did, there was the Hashmonaim, the Maccabees, who said absolutely not. Matisyahu led them, and they refused. And they said, no, we Jews stick with Hashem no matter what. The question is, what's up with this horn of the ox? And that's what I want to focus on today. What does it mean you should write on the horn of the ox? And of course, as we always discuss, how do we celebrate Hanukkah nowadays? Hanukkah is this holiday whereby it's all about, it's all about remembering the war of the many against the few and the strong against the weak. And this mighty Syrian army was totally vanquished and destroyed by the Jewish people. Of course, we need to do that practically. Pretty good job of the Syrian army was done the other day, thank God. And we see Hashem's miracles. And of course, it means just that we'll see Hashem's miracles every year. But what we want to do is defeat the Greek army. And these people want us to write on the horn of the ox that we have no portion in the God of Israel, to defeat them in our own lives. And every year when Hanukkah comes along, what we want to do is rededicate the Beis HaMikdash, because Chanukah means, right, like you make a Chanukah Habayit. When you rededicate, when you have a new home, so you dedicate the home. Chanukah Mizbeach was actually a rededication, because the Jews were actually, they had a Beis HaMikdash. All that needed to be done was to rededicate the Beis HaMikdash. And so that was the Hanukkah story. And what we want to do is take a look at what it means to serve Hashem in the Beis HaMikdash, what it means to us today, how we do the work, and what happens when the Greeks attack us and block us from doing everything. So at the outset, let's answer this question. What they wanted was that we should write on the horn of an ox, that we should write on the horn of an ox that we have no portion in the God of Israel means there's a force inside you that wants you to deny God. And it's not telling you that Hashem doesn't exist. There is no one here who doesn't believe in Hashem. Belief in Hashem, I believe, to all of us, is a given. Of course we believe in Hashem. That's not the question. The question is, do we work Hashem into our lives? And what did the Greeks want? What they wanted was that, this whole thing about God and whatever and all that stuff that you talk about, just say it's not true. It doesn't work. It's not real. The idea of riding on the horn of an ox, that you have no portion in the God of Israel, is to deny that there's any connection, any realism, any like actual work to do that actually works. In other words, to come to a shir and say, okay, it's very nice, you learned about this stuff, whatever. Now let's go back to real life. Real life and what you learn are disconnected one from the other. And that's represented, as we will see, God willing, by the horn of the ox. So let's jump right in and learn about the work, and then be able to activate the work and do the work. What we want to do is go back and understand what happened on Hanukkah. So what happened was, there was a Beis HaMikdash, and they used to do work in the Beis Hamikdash, and all that work was blocked. They stopped us from being able to do all the work in the Beis Hamikdash on Hanukkah, before Hanukkah. And Hanukkah was us rediscovering and being able to do all that work. So in order to understand how you celebrate Hanukkah, you first have to go see what exactly was being done in the Beis Hamikdash on a daily basis. And do you do it in your life on a daily basis? Do we work this into our lives? Once we understand what they were doing, we can internalize and do that. Here's what they did in the Beis Hamikdash every single day. They offered korbanos. But actually, they did a lot more than offer korbanos. There was a series of things they did. Abaye in the Gemara lists and he describes the whole avodah, the whole work that was done in the Beis Hamikdash. And we say it every day in davening. In the part many people skip. But the korbanos, Abaye Hava V'Sada Sedar Maracha, we go through how Abaye did it. And I'm going to focus on a few select pieces of what they did every single day. Here's what they did. Every day, there was a menorah. You walked into the Beis Hamikdash, right? In the place called the Kodesh, the holy chamber. There's the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies. Nobody walks there besides the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. Right before that chamber was a chamber called Kodesh, holy. Over there, you had a shulchan, the table, which held in it the lechem apanim, the bread. You had a menorah where you lit the candles, and you had a mizbeach. That mizbeach, the altar, is known as mizbeach haktoris. On it, they offered the ktoret. The ktoret was fragrances, incense, the incense, which was offered as 11 different ingredients that were put in to make a special smell. These three were aligned in like a segel. So you had on the right side, when you walked in, you looked toward, you're facing the Kodesh HaKodashim. On the right side, you have the menorah. On the left side, you have the shulchan. And a little bit in between them, like a segel, you have the Mizbeach HaKteres. Then if you go further outside, you had another Mizbeach, which was the main Mizbeach that was used in the Azara. That's the actual altar where they offer the korbanot, the one that we know about. They're offering all the animals, all the sacrifices. So, every day, there was a regiment, an order of things to do. The Kohen Gadol, the Kohen, would light the menorah every single day. The menorah was lit bein ha'arbaim, in the evening. As it was hitting night, that's when you lit the menorah. Right? So when you did it, you lit all 7 candles of the menorah. Those would light all night long. In the morning, the Kohen would come and he would fix up the candles. So take out the ashes and fix the wicks, right? Getting it ready. First, he would do 5 of the candles. When he finishes that, right, 5 candles, he goes and there was a korban, there was a sacrifice. So he takes the dama tomid, the korban tomid, that's the sheep that was offered every day. Takes the blood of the animal, sprinkles it on the mizbeach. Sprinkles, right? When he finishes that, he comes back and he finishes the 2 other candles that were left over. Sorry, first he offers the ketores, the incense. Then he does the 2 candles. And then he goes back and he takes the limbs, the fats of the korban tomid and offers it on the mizbeach. So these are 5 avodas, as we'll see, that the Kohen was doing. And we're going to describe how to do them. And we want to see how it actually works, how we actually operate and do these things. So again, he lights the 7 candles by night. In the day he comes, fixes up the 5 candles. After that, he does the sprinkling of the blood of the korban tomid. Then you do fix up the other 2 candles, leave 1 alight. The 6th candle is left alight all the time. That's ner tomid. Then you do the ketores, and then the limbs, which is the fats, were thrown on the mizbeach. Okay. First point is, let's light the menorah. Now all this was ceased on Hanukkah, and they had to redo it, and they start again on Hanukkah. Okay. So how do we light the candles? Every one of us, you are a Beis Hamikdash, because the pasuk says, "Ve'asuli mikdash ve'shachanti betocham." Make me a mikdash, a holy temple, and I will dwell among you. So you and I need to make a mikdash for Hashem. And the first order that we have of today is to describe how to light the candles. You're meant to light the 7 candles. Now, why are there 7 candles? The 7 candles are, remember, 1 candle is lit all the time, so really all you got to do is light 6 candles, right? Because the other candle was lit the whole time. But what are the 7 candles? They are the 7 emotions. The first order of avodah, of working, of being able to serve Hashem, is to be able to light up and ignite your emotions. You may notice that many of us often find ourselves in a dark space. Now, when we talk about dark means no light, no physical light. But dark means much more than that. Darkness is a space of emptiness, a space of gloominess, where you feel alone. That's a space which mankind gets to know. Each of us, I think, gets to know it intimately well. It's a very scary space to be in. It's all alone. It's when you feel darkness. Now, the thing about darkness is that you can actually divide them into each emotion, because each emotion, when it's not a light, you have darkness. So what you want to do is sit down with every single one of the 7 emotions and light it up individually. You can't just say, oh, I'm not alone, Hashem is with me, things are good, great. If you don't do it to every single emotion, one by one, you will not have a menorah. So the menorah is you looking at yourself and lighting up every single emotion individually, right? Now maybe let's break down the emotions. There's the 7 are 6 and 1. So I don't know if we should even focus on the 1, but let's describe the 6, which are the primary ones. There's 3 primary and 3 secondary, but those are your emotions. So what are the emotions? They are love, fear, awe, and compassion. Those are the 3 primary ones. Those are called Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferes. Right? Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. Love, fear, compassion. Awe is the same as fear. It's the same family as fear. Then there's Netzach, Hoid, and Yesoid, victory, and splendor, and connection. I'm going to translate them in a different way. I don't know if I'm 100% accurate about every one of like what it is, but when I do this work, this is how I do it, and I do believe that it's really connected to these emotions. Again, I stand to be a little bit correct in every detail, but this is the basic idea. So every one of us needs to feel love. Love means you need to feel a sense of belonging, a sense of community, nachas, pride, all those, and each one's going to have it in a different way, but you need to feel like supported, that sense of love. If you don't, you're going to be in the dark. What's going to happen is you're going to be looking constantly for love from somewhere and someone else. So if you don't feel like, you know, the like a telephone, which sometimes you're on. Today there's no place that you don't have service, like, unfortunately. But you know, imagine you go somewhere in the Himalayas, theoretically. Someone used to run heard this guy used to run the Baal Tshuva retreat, a retreat for non-religious people in the Himalayas. And every year he used to get scores of Baal Tshuvas from going out for a couple of weeks to the Himalayas. And then he stopped doing it. He said, I did it 1 year, 0 results. Why? Because they made cell phone service on the Himalayas. And as soon as they did, there's no one to talk to. But if you could go into a place like the Himalayas and find, you know, no cell phone service, your cell phone's looking, the cell phone's not running. Look, you ever see the cell phones when they're looking for service and they can't find it? They go a little bit crazy and they drain the battery in no time at all. That's what we humans do when we don't have an emotion that's taken care of. So if you're trying to get a sense of love and it's not working, you're going to be constantly looking and looking and looking. How do I find this love? Where do I get it? So what you want to do is the work of finding the love in yourself. For good reason, the name by which the Jewish people are known as is Yaakov. we're known for, right? He's the Yisrael, Yaakov. He's the main one of the patriarchs who we know by. Yaakov means, right? We said they didn't call him Enkel, they called him Yankel, because his job is not to be an ankle, but to bring the Yud, the Yeh, into the ankle. In other words, he takes the Esav and he feels the heel of Esav and he holds on to the heel of Esav. The heel of Esav is a negative experience that you have in your life. Using your hand, Yado, Yud, Dalet, Vav is your hand. Yud is the same letters as Yado. Yud is Yud, Vav, Dalet. So the Yud is a little letter which is just Hashem's name begins with a Yud, and it's just a sense of bringing Hashem into the space of whatever is going on, the heel that's going on in your life. So the first order of the day, and every one of us should be doing this daily, is exercising your emotions to discover how each one of the emotions is happening inside you already. Stop looking for the signal on the outside world and discover that you already have the signal inside. So bring the Yud to the Akev. Whatever the heel is going on in your life, bring the Yud in and light it up. When you light up your life, you'll discover that instead of living in the dark, you live in a beautiful, blissful light. Otherwise, if you're married, you're going to look for your spouse to give you the love. And sometimes he doesn't have it in him. Right? Or she doesn't have it in her, and you just can't get it from them. And so what you want to do is find it already in yourself. You don't need your spouse to get love. You don't need your kids to get nachas. You don't need something on the outside to get it from inside. And you say it's not true. Of course I do. How else am I meant to live without someone else giving it to me? Well, the reality is that if you find it on the inside, the outside world will mirror what's going on the inside. But when the inside world is not getting it, so you just see more of the negativity, of the darkness. So the first step is to sit down and write every day, take your 6 emotions and find Hashem in them. So, 1, do I see God? Am I seeing love? Look around at your day and say, what's going on in my life today that Hashem is giving me that I feel love? What kind of love? Whatever you're missing. So I'm missing a sense of belonging. Or if you feel alone, I want to feel that I have friendship and community and connection. So you say, nobody cares about me. Nobody is interested in me. Okay, that's true. But one person is. Someone. So what you want to do is focus on, that one person. That's true. So the way we word it usually is, okay, it's true, this friend called me, but nobody else does. No, do it the other way around. So it's true nobody called me and nobody else, but that friend called me. Just change the name of the game. And you write it down and you start living in that. Because the brain actually operates based on whatever you tell him. If you feed him and nothing's working, then that's what he lives, in the dark. Then you move on to the second midah, right? Which is the midah of gvura. So the first midah, chesed, when it goes into the dark, you know what it's called? Addiction. It's looking for love from an unhealthy space. The second midah, when it goes wrong, the midah of gvura, is meant to be awe in Hashem. When it goes wrong, it feels like anxiety. But if you train yourself, right, and you expand the sense of healthy awe and healthy gvura, it works better. I believe, I don't know, I think that the sense of gvura, again I stand to be corrected, is looking at yourself and seeing, like, gvura is the work from down up, which a person does on his own. It's like, what am I accomplishing? Am I feeling accomplished? Because anxiety comes from a space of helplessness and being overwhelmed. So if you look at your life and you're saying, what am I accomplishing? And write down every day. Right? It works better, by the way, when you use a pen and paper, not the computer, because you actually have to write it down. It's like you're trying to live in this positive emotion. So I'm exercising my emotions today. Now I'm going to exercise my sense of accomplishment. What have I accomplished today? Not what someone else did for me. It's not a gratitude sheet. Gratitude is thank you Hashem for breathing, thank you Hashem for wonderful things. This is a me exercising my emotions. Once upon a time, we didn't need to exercise. Like exercise, I'm saying working out. We didn't need to do that. Why? Because you actually worked. People worked. They picked up things, they worked in the field, and they came back and you was tired out. Today, when you say you're tired out from work, from what? From sitting by your computer all day long? From talking to people? What are you tired by? So it's critical to manually exercise the emotions because we're not working in the field. You don't even know what a field looks like sometimes. But you have to manually work the emotions. What happened of late is that we've been hijacked in emotions and in intellect. In other words, technology has taken over the way we feel. Did you notice? When you're on social media, whether you like it or not, the message is that how do you get a friend? By posting and getting 485 likes. A like is not your friend in any way, shape, or form. But it feels like it, right? So, like the experience you get is one of perfect air conditioning, maybe press off. The emotion that you get, right? It kind of like, okay, so I got an emotion of love from an outside world in a very unhealthy way. That's why it's more important than ever to do the actual exercise on yourself, because our emotions are hijacked. Today, our brains are hijacked. Someone looks at a phone for 8 hours a day. It literally hijacks you. It fries your brain. And it fries your emotions when you get involved in social media. You become unable to kind of like express yourself. So what we want to do is work back the emotions into our lives. So the first two we got, right? What have I done for a feeling of belonging today? Well, I don't know. I drove my kid to school. I decided to, make a connection. I drove my kid to school myself. So nice. Give yourself a point. You feel the love there? It only works if you actually feel it. When you write it down, you're like, ooh, I did do something. I felt a sense of connection, of love. Accomplishment. Well, I don't know. I was going to eat last night. I was going to have that ice cream at midnight. And I went to the fridge and I really worked hard on myself. And I closed the fridge and I didn't do it. It was really, really difficult. Give yourself a point. You feel accomplished, right? Good. Next one. I feel sometimes so insecure. So I want to feel a sense of security and being taken care of. I want to feel like I have an anchor in my life. That's Tiferes. Splendor. Are you? Do you have an anchor? So, I don't know. What did you do? I did something to feel a sense of anchor. How about I made myself a time that I wake up in the morning. I wake up at 6:25 every morning. Whether I have what to do or I don't have what to do. Write that down. I feel there's a sense of security of I have a seder in the morning. I go daven, work out, do whatever I'm doing. These are the things I do. So I have myself a sense of security. So I got I'm igniting. I'm working each candle, lighting it up, and feeling the emotion inside me. If you didn't feel the emotion when you wrote it down, and I don't mean feel like exhilaration. I mean feel a little bit of emotion. You didn't light it up. It's not fake work, it's actual work. Then you want to do the other three, which is every one of us needs to have novelty in their lives. New stuff. Things that are impactful. That's the novelty. Novelty is chidush. You did something I did something that changed things. Impact. So if you spoke to someone and you made them change the way they think, write that down. Wow, I felt like I was impactful today. That's your netzach. Hoid is respect. We need a sense of respect. I need to feel like I'm worthwhile. Right? So, I don't know. I told my kid that you can't sit on mommy and tati's seats. That's a sense of respect, ever so slightly. See how you're exercising the midah? Again, if you don't exercise the midah exercises you. What's going to happen is the emotion will come along and say, I don't feel any respect to anyone. Nobody respects me. Nobody cares about me. Nobody thinks I'm important. what you want to do is change that space. Yesod is a feeling of altruism, really connecting to someone else. What did I do for someone else today? That was for zero gain. Now I've written them out. I've got my emotions. The seventh one is how the person received it. I'm not going to go into that one, but you want to light all your emotions up. So every day in the menorah, they would light up the menorah, and every one of us, there are 70 children of Yaakov. Yaakov had 70 souls altogether. Why is that? Because it's the branches of the menorah, 7 times 10. And what we want to do is really and truly light up the emotions. And you see how it's like a candle? Light up equals be excited. Just like when you're lit up, right, you feel excited. It's the joy that you feel. If you feel the opposite of joy, that's darkness. What's that? That's when you feel like nothing's working, gloomy, dark, down, depressed, all that. That's the darkness. In order to light up the darkness, you have to ignite every emotion. So we, of course, have another way to light up emotions by going on vacations, by watching YouTube and watching movies and whatever. And we're like, I'm igniting my emotions. You are, but it's not real. Primarily, it's not real because if something or someone has to do something external for you to be lit up, that's called darkness. It's only temporary. It's not really lighting up your life. So it's critical in today's day and age when we do all that stuff to spend some time every day lighting up your emotions. Okay? Step one. Now that we did that, what's the next thing we do? The Ketores. Ketores, unlike the menorah is fire. Fire is alive. So your emotions are alive. Emotions are feelings. Do you see how they're alive? They're like, who are they alive? When they're not in the mood, you feel like absolutely insane, right? Emotions gone wrong goes crazy, very dark. But then there's the Ketores, which is made up of inanimate items. In our lives, we have something very inanimate that has absolutely no life to it, and yet it can kill. It can destroy you, God forbid. And what is that? Emotions don't happen in a vacuum. When you have an emotion of love, of, let's say, gone wrong, addiction, what do? You don't sit in the emotion, right? You self-destruct. You find some clothing for the emotion. Right. What is the clothing? You go do something that's going to be self-destructive. Emotions have clothing known as, remember we discussed this a few weeks ago, the clothing of the emotions are thought, speech, and action. So we have a tendency nowadays, many of us, to think negatively. The default setting is, everything's gone wrong. What can I think of that's wrong in my life? And so when something happens to me, it's like, oy vey, woe is to me. And you start living in a negative space. Thought, speech, and action means I don't need to change the life of anything other than the way I speak. This is really hard because you'll come home and you'll tell someone, a loved one, you'll say, I don't know why nothing goes right in my life. Everything's messed up. I don't know why. And it's not necessarily an emotion. Sometimes you're just describing, it's just a language that you say. And because the language that you speak is one of negativity, you breed negativity. Language is a key factor. It's about changing the way you speak, changing your thoughts and changing your action. And it's really hard because it doesn't really give us any safe space. My thoughts and speech, my thoughts for sure is my safe space, right? I need to be able to come home and tell my loved one, my spouse, how messed up life is. And I'm entitled to do that. It's just me doing it. But guess what? When your thought, speech, and action are in a negative space, then you're right. Whatever you say is true. It's not a safe space. It's a disastrous space. What you're doing is, through uttering those letters, you're destroying your whole being. So now this is hard work, because what you want to do is flip the language that you use in your thought, speech, and action. Instead of, my life is all messed up, so many bad things are happening to me, start looking and saying, I don't know, it's so amazing. Like, this happened, that happened, that happened. Remember, if you did your work, your emotions work before, you already feel a little bit lit up. So when you light yourself up, come home and you tell your spouse, wow, it's just so beautiful. I took the kid home to school today. It was so much love in the air. It was so beautiful. And you're faking it because the whole day was terrible and messed up. You're not faking it. You're offering the ketores. Ketores means taking physical things, like letters or just inanimate objects, and lighting them up, igniting them, and making them fragrance. That's the ketores. It's more interesting and more exciting to be among. People like to gravitate to someone who talks positively rather than someone who talks negatively. Not just people, you do too. You yourself gravitate towards yourself much more when you talk in a positive way rather than a negative way. And it ain't no easy. This is hard work. But when you change the language that you use and the speech and the action that you're doing, it just ignites your life and it puts you in a different zone. That's the ketores. So it's the emotions and the physical, actual words and actions that we do. And by the way, if you don't like someone, like if you're really mad at someone and you're really upset at them, try to do something a bit crazy. Try to write down on a piece of paper. Just write it down and say it every day. So-and-so is such a nice, sweet person. And you just write it down. And then what you do is you'll discover that if you keep on saying it every day, after a while, you'll actually start seeing good things in them. And it's just wondrous that it can work, but when you change the letters, things can happen. So that's number 2. Afterwards, what do? We take there was a korban they offered every day. Now we go to korbanos. Till now we did, right? We're by the kodesh. We're offering we're lighting the menorah in the evening, and then we offer the ketores. Now we go to the blood of the korban tamid. So the korban tamid was a sheep, and they slaughtered the sheep, and then they shechted it, and then they took the blood and sprinkled the blood on the mizbeach. Sprinkling the blood. What does that mean, to sprinkle the blood on the mizbeach? Here we go to what the animal is inside of us. You see, we all say, we all believe in Hashem. We do. In fact, belief in Hashem is expressed by closing our eyes and going, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The biggest problem of Shema is opening your eyes afterwards. Because when your eyes are closed, and you must close your eyes because otherwise you're not going to really feel it, you close your eyes and you say, the only force that's operating in this world, the only thing that operates on life than anyone is Hashem. I don't know of any other force in my life. It's all God. Whatever happens is Hashem. The good, the not so good, it's all Hashem Echad. I like things, I don't like things. Everything is God. If you feel everything is Hashem, you feel taken care of, you feel loved, you feel supported, you feel secure, you feel impactful, you feel respected. Everything works perfect. The problem is, then real life hits you. And you open up your eyes and you're like, but I'm being abused. I'm being destroyed right now. Between me and my belief, my true deep emunah in Hashem, is this blockage. It's like an obstacle that I cannot overcome. Now you'll notice it all the time in your life. You'll notice that the obstacle happens. Because we're megushim, we're coarse people, we're physical people. So what happens is, whatever you learned goes out the window when you face the reality of life. And suddenly you have this incredibly intense emotion in your life, like anxiety. It's so intense and it blocks you, and you sit there and you're like, I don't know, it feels like an impossible roadblock. It feels like an obstruction that is never been able to overcome. So there's spirituality at its core, and then there's my relationship with spirituality. And I don't see the spirituality because the physical is so intense and so powerful. So what do I want to do? I want to be able to break through it. After we say Shema, what's the next pasuk? Remember? Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuto L'Olam Va'ed. What does that mean? What's Baruch, remember? Not blessed, but draw down. Step one is I close my eyes and I say Shema. There's nothing besides Hashem. Then I open my eyes and I say, okay, see the problem? I'm going to bring Hashem's kingdom, Shem Kvod Malchusai, into this problem right now. Le'olam. Va'ed, in a real way. And I'm going to work to love Hashem b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha. B'chol nafshecha means letting Hashem into your life, mesirus nefesh. I let go. So the next step in my life is to feel the obstruction, right? It's so intense and so powerful. It's so beautiful when you get to notice yourself. When you can read yourself from outside in, it's like empowering. Look at yourself and look at how you're acting out. Be your own therapist. Notice in yourself, wow, I'm acting out right now. Look at her. Look at him acting out right in this moment. So it's an intense feeling of disconnect. The only reason why you have that intense feeling right now, the anxiety, the despair, the feeling of addiction, whatever's going on, the only reason you have it right now is for you to bring down the malchus of Hashem into the world. The animal in our lives, the animal is the animal soul. The animal soul is the feelings that we have. The blood of the animal, what's blood? Heat, koch, the excitement of it. When you feel an intense emotion, that's the blood of the animal. That's the blood of the korban tamid. And what you want to do with that blood is take it and sprinkle it and throw it on the mizbeach. Every day. You wish it was as easy as taking blood and throwing it. What it is watching this intense emotion that's going on and throwing yourself at Hashem. I know Hashem is here. I know Hashem is with me. I'm throwing myself into Hashem's loving arms and warm embrace. So it's very nice. You wake up in the morning and it's critical to do it. You have to wake up in the morning and say, Shema, there's nothing besides Hashem. And then when the day happens, there's everything besides Hashem. And as you discover the intense emotion, say, there he is, that's the one. And notice that Hashem is behind him. That's what it means to sprinkle the blood. Tzafona lifnei Hashem. Tzafona is the north. That's where all bad things happen. It says, Mitzafon tipatach hara'a. Tzafona is what's hidden. Tzafun. Hashem is hiding. But he's right behind every single situation that transpires in your life. He's right in front of you. And when when you're acting out and you're going crazy, so you don't see Hashem, when you just let go of that, you'll discover Hashem right behind you. Every morning, here's our work. Number one, it's critical to do the work simple. Just write down things that are going on in your life. Make a time of day, in the evening. You write down all the things that are going on for me. Write, look what's happening. Just work every emotion in. Change the way you think, speak, and act. That's the Ketores. In the morning. Now we're going to do this sprinkling of the blood. What does that mean? I'm going to go daven to Hashem. How do I daven to Hashem? When I'm davening, saying, God, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. But I feel, Hashem, I tell you, my life is a ruins. And I'm feeling so anxious and so crazy. And you just allow yourself to watch that crazy animal inside you. That's the anxiety. Watch him. And then throw him at Hashem. And that means this anxiety is crazy. Yes. And I'm accepting Hashem into my life. And you just say those words. You actually do it. In other words, when you notice this emotion, and then you throw yourself at Hashem in that space. That's called sprinkling the blood of the Tamid on the Mizbeach. And now we move into the two candles. lighting the two candles, even though they on the menorah, they're part of the menorah, but lighting the two candles is something needs to happen now. In order for me to live a life of divine energy, I need to change the way I am. Now, let's go back to the bigger picture. We're Hashem's children, right? We're Hashem's reps. We represent God on planet Earth. But the first realization is, represent Hashem to yourself. And it's very difficult to believe this. It's like, what is my life? I don't know, I'm just a person. I'm a parent, I'm a child, I'm a sibling, I'm a friend, a co-worker. I don't know, I'm just a human being running my life. That message needs to change. I need to realize I am a mikdash. I am a holy space where Hashem is revealed. And all the things that go on in my life, all the craziness, is not crazy, it's just revealing Hashem in my life. It's about discovering divine energy in my life on a constant and consistent basis. And what you want to do is reach the point whereby Hashem gave us what to do all day, every day. So it is critical to light two candles up. Number one, Torah is or. After you do all this work, right? In the secular culture, many times this work is done. You know, people work their emotions. They work each emotion to their lives. Yes, and then they throw the anxiety at God. They give it over to Hashem. Yes, they change the way they think, speak, and act. All this they do. Now comes the Jewish part. The Jewish part is, and then what? Don't go watch movies after that. And then I got to do something that's real. I need to learn Torah, do mitzvahs. Those are my two candles I need to light up. When you learn Torah, you start seeing things in a new light. Like, for example, when we learn this, right? We're learning a Maimon of the Baal Tanya. When you learn it, you actually change the way you think. So Torah allows you to change the way you think. When you learn halacha, you know how Hashem wants you to operate. When you learn chumash, you're bringing Hashem down into the world. All these things are godly energy. So you want to align your life, you start living the way Hashem wants you to do. And point two is mitzvahs. Mitzvahs change the scope and space of everything that's happening around you. That's what mitzvahs do. They literally change everything about you. Hashem gave us opportunity every day, all day, to change the world. Let's discuss the quintessential mitzvah, right? What's the primary mitzvah we have? All mitzvahs are known by the mitzvah of tzedakah, right? When a person does tzedakah, what are you doing? I'm talking about chesed, when you actually, there's chesed can be done in many ways, but it could be done by giving away money. It could be done by actually going and doing the work yourself. What happens to you is you become a godly person. When you take a check and write out the tzedakah, whatever the amount is, that's difficult for you. 10 grand. You write a check and you need 10 grand to tzedakah. And it's crazy. For some people it's $100, for some people it's $1 million. Whatever the amount is for you, you take a check and you write it out and you give it away to some, tzedakah. What you're doing when you're doing that is changing literally and actually the physical world. You're actually completely transforming the physical world. Israel, Jews are called Osim Retzono Shel Makom. Osim Retzono Shel Makom is translated as doing the will of Hashem. It's making the will of Hashem. Hashem is a theory until you show up. And when you do the mitzvah, when you actually write a check to tzedakah, and when you actually go do the work and do something for chesed, the physical world is being changed and becoming divine. It's literally changing the actual space out there. So we Jews Hashem gave us, all day long opportunities. He gave us all day, there's mitzvahs that we can do. Every time you're doing a mitzvah, when you're putting on tefillin, when you're lighting the candles, every mitzvah you do, what does it do? It changes the world, and more than ever, the mitzvah of tzedakah. So look what happened to us so far. Every day I woke up in the morning, and I'm a regular being. I'm just a simple guy. I'm just a simple me. And I wake up and I start exercising my emotions, aligning them with Hashem, finding the light in the emotions. I lit my candles. I move into the next step of the mizbeach, right? And of the ketores. And I'm offering the thought, speech, and action. I'm changing the way I'm doing thought, speech, and action. Then I'm throwing the blood on the mizbeach. I'm looking at these crazy feelings I'm having, and I'm feeling this intensity. I'm throwing it at Hashem. Yes, that's my Shema prayer. And I throw it at God. And then I move into a space of go out and learn Torah and do mitzvahs. But you're doing it now as a godly person. You see what happens if you didn't do this work? If you didn't do this work, I venture to say many of us are just faking it. We're just doing Torah and mitzvahs here, and it doesn't mean anything. This way, it's real, it's genuine, it's coming from within you. And then you take the limbs, the fats of the korban, of the Talmud, and you offer them on the Mizbeach. This is, when you read about Shlomo Terubashkin, part of his story, someone told me the other day, I don't know how well he speaks. I said, I don't know. But it's not about how well he speaks. It's the message that he's communicating. The message is, I felt the blubber of my own being burning in the presence of Hashem. Like, I actually lived bitachon. I felt it on my skin. I think one of the things he said is, and the Balatanya also said this when he was in prison. He was locked up in prison, and he said that I felt so much pleasure I was being tortured, right? But I felt so much pleasure from this. I'm like, wow, it's unbelievable. I'm being tortured for Hashem, and all on behalf of Hashem. My whole being is going up in flames. You can actually get excited and feel the pleasure of how joyous and incredible it is to be a Jew. See how we live? We like to live in negative space. Oh, everything's terrible, everything's bad, everything's messed up. Flip it over. If you did all this work and you exercise your emotion, you start changing the thought, speech, and action, and you offer that to Hashem, and then you do Torah and mitzvahs all day long, at some point you're like, is my life so bad? It's like, things are really terrible. They are. But the terrible things that they are, it's such a pleasure to be a Jew who's able to offer myself over to Hashem. That's what it means, the limbs, the chalev. The chalev is the pleasure. The chalev is the fats. Fatty stuff. Offer the fat to Hashem and get excited. This is great. It's cool. It's so cool to be a human being who's so messed up and whose insides are just churning over and who's got all these crazy emotions and who's acting out and who's feeling so messed up in every direction. This being is called a Jew. Welcome to me, and I am here to allow my whole being to become godly, and my fats, my burning, are getting excited about my relationship with Hashem. What I am is a godly being on fire, and if I can get excited over that, that's my step 5. That's what you do every day. You do this work every single day, and you keep on doing it, and you watch your life change. You know what the problem is with all this? We're skeptical. It's a nice theory. To most people, it's nothing more than a theory. And so we become really skeptical of it. Yeah. Okay, very nice. And come on. The problem is a problem. That guy is a loser. My child has got a problem. This guy stole money from me. That's like the facts on the ground. But it's a fact on the ground. The facts on the ground are too strong sometimes for all this theory stuff. Enter the Hanukkah story. The Yevonim said, stop being so Jewish. Stop living all the stuff that's Beis HaMikdash stuff. Get rid of it. They wanted to block all the work that was going on in the Beis HaMikdash. We Jews are like, what do you mean? I'm bringing Hashem into my life. My life is godliness on fire. And the Yevonim said, take that ox, the ox is the excitement in your life, and write on the horn that I have no portion in the God of Israel. What does that mean? It means there's nothing holy and spiritual about my life. It's just a problem. When you're having a problem with something, if you have a problem with a child, you believe it's a problem with a child. When you have a problem with the parnasa, with business, you believe that's what's happening. I've got a problem with the business. It is not. It's all me being able to overcome my little emotions inside me, change the way I am, change my space, and become a godly person. There's no health issues, there's no money issues, there's no chinuch issues. It's all me enjoying the bliss of Hashem's space. And the Yevonim said, it's not true. Every animal has in it parts that have to be thrown away. You can't eat them. They're not usable. One of them is the horn. They said, take the horn and write on it. Okay, Jew, you offer today the Beis HaMikdash, write on it, I don't have a portion with the God of Israel. That's the skepticism. It's all fake. It's not true. And the Hashmonaim, they came along and said, whoa, 1 second. Most Jews didn't have the power to fight the Yevonim. Some even became Misyavim, they became Yevoni. They bought into the culture of the world around them. That's what happens to every single one of us. We believe that all this stuff is good theory and no bearing in true reality. Problems are solved by solving them. They're not solved by changing your emotions, none of that. All this emotional stuff, it's heebie-jeebie. That's called right on the horn of the ox. There's no chelik b'li Yisrael. What did the Matisio and the Hashmonaim do? They said, no. Jew gets up and he fights with Mesiras Nefesh. And that's why it's called Chanukah. Chanukah is rededicating ourselves to this work of the Beis HaMikdash. Nowadays, we think the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. It's not. You're the Beis HaMikdash. When you build it inside you, it gets built, Mirz Hashem, on the outside world, and we'll see the actual third Beis HaMikdash being rebuilt. What we want to do is actually change ourselves. And so when they say right, when there's a little Yevoni inside you, he's going to enter inside your head, and he's going to say it's all not true. You go with Mesiras Nefesh, and you fight him no matter what. And how do we celebrate Chanukah? We celebrate Chanukah with Hallel and Hodah. So we say Hallel. Hallel is basically, we get up in the day and we sing to Hashem. Hallelujah. You know what Hallelu means in English? What's Hallelu? Praise. Hallelu also means like hilo, to light up, to ignite. Get excited. Hallelujah. Get excited over Yudke. What's Yudke? Hashem is, he's concealed. He's not, Yudke Vavke is revealed. Hallelu Avdei Hashem. You, me and you. I'm an Eved Hashem. Hallelujah, Shem Hashem. Bring Hashem down into your life with all this emotional work. And notice, this is the Hallel, right? He, Shem Hashem, I'm going to draw Hashem into my life from east to west, from now to forever. It's me realizing Hashem into my life, because every moment you make 100 brachas a day, it means 100 opportunities every single day to bring Hashem down. The work of Chanukah is to tell us that even when you're in Galut, even when you're in exile, and the Beis HaMikdash is apparently destroyed, and it seems to be like our lives are not run by God, it's not true. Your life is godly, and don't allow anyone to make you right on the horn of the ox to say it's not true. You do have a portion in the God of Israel. Hashem is real in your life. And if we allow Hashem into our lives and realize that the kingdom of Hashem is realized through us, through the work that we do, that's how we celebrate Chanukah. It's this excitement of a wow. And we say Hallel, we get excited over it. So some of this work needs to be done, basically all the above. Just do it. Just go for Mesiras Nefesh and say, okay, Hashem, I am godly, and you'll find your life will change when you do this every day. Life is godly, it's holy, and that's your life. Today, in this moment, the best space, the best person who ever was, is you right now, right here. And when you do that, that's Chanukah, rededicating the Beis HaMikdash.